Your mother.
Yeah, she would. Unless it was Presbyterian, she would.
Oh, no, but you know, the bell that's upside down up in Chapman Park where that came from. There was another tower on the Episcopal Church, it was fire, and that's going down. Yeah,
In the Episcopal church.
That's a word back, so paying tax.
Right.
yeah, well, there's
Oh, you're paying it, there you go.
there's the upside down bell. Up,
Did you get to me today?
up in Chapman
Chapman Park.
Park, came out of there.
Did you get the meter today?
No.
So that maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. The killer worship was, you know, we in a church.
Meeting is.
I know that.
Like we are paying it.
Well. Well, this was I'm gonna have a meeting.
Okay. I'll make sure,
Yeah. It was tax from food,
yeah, it's certainly.
Oh,
which I didn't pick up on.
yeah, there shouldn't be tax. Have
So,
So hopefully.
I'll leave.
to let Kristen know.
Yeah. Best stick them because. No, she's already written the check.
984. Voucher.
We're going to call this meeting order for the hearing in regard to the Charter Communications franchise agreement.
Yeah, my name's Rick Johnson and Frank and I agreed that I would do a little research on this. I wanted to assure them that I was not accepting any position on this. Now that I've gotten into it, I'm even more sure. My interest was peaked a few years ago when a subcontractor came in front of our house on Rogers Road, it was a private road, up there off of River Road East. And the guy was putting in what to me was obviously broadband, because I'd seen it before. And it's that big heavy black line that runs at the bottom of your telephone pole array. So you got electric power, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, electric power up top, and then other utilities down.
Spectrum, Verizon.
Verizon, Spectrum, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I talked to the contractor, he didn't work for Verizon. But he said, oh yeah, this is broadband. And I said, wow, that's great, so when do we get a chance to hook up? And his response was, I have news for you, this is a dedicated line. I'm quoting it, dedicated line, I said dedicated to who? You know the answer to this? Dave, you know, because this is a utility, it runs on, you know, they set this line up and it turns out that it's dedicated to use by the state park. State park has this service, but the taxpayers don't. That to me is fascinating. For some, you know, where there's people who are up there for 3 months of the year, typically for a week at a time, but they've got broadband Wi-Fi from Verizon, which they call FiOS, and we can't get it. So
I'll get a number, I'll give you. We couldn't get it either, but we got it now. I'll get it for
yeah.
You got
I remember
fiber for you guys?
you. We put it all the way up our road, what was there, you could never look into it, but now it's all hooked in. Our road, all up by the golf course.
But you can't hook into it either.
Yeah, we're in it now.
Oh, you
They
are?
just did
Well, I
it.
was gonna ask that, or show of hands here on, we don't have much of a sample, but,
We haven't had any in 2 or 3 years when they put it in, but we have it now.
okay.
Yeah.
And I recently
We'll tie
learned
into
too,
it.
they are going to be offering it down through Chapman Street as well. We had another resident come in and verify that. It isn't yet, but it will be.
Does Chapman Street have Spectrum?
Right now, yeah.
They do? That's
Mhm.
critical. That's critical. because when these utilities, these charter companies, cable companies started out 30 years ago. They came in and they owned the turf. It was their deal and nobody else. And they got all the only thing the municipality could do would be charge a franchise fee. And when I was in Potsdam as a trustee, we were getting revenue from franchise fee that was negotiated in our contract with Time Warner. I don't think the town of Morristown or the village of Morristown ever took a fee,
No,
right?
no,
And the reason you wouldn't typically is that they charge that right back to the customer,
yes,
which probably wouldn't go well in these times. But nonetheless, that's one option. Is to get some revenue out of this that I think it's yours for the taking, but understand that there may be some political blowback. And you don't have to go to 5%. It can be anything up to 5%, according to what I've read in the state, information. So the other thing is, I talked to both of the Paquette brothers, and I turned out that I had the wrong one, but I got the right one, and I'm sorry about that, but Peter, like you're Pete, right? No, you're Mike. Kelly.
Try
Where
again.
the hell is Pete? I thought you.
Pete's not here.
I'm with this guy. Oh, yeah, that's true. But you guys gotta have more separation. So the Paquettes said basically this, Peter got Verizon, but he had no spectrum
Right,
at the time.
correct.
Frank, I think that was your situation. You had no spectrum.
I,
Verizon came through with a line and you could hook up.
it was right behind my barn. I could walk to it, but they said, I would contact me, went online, blah, 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 not available. And
Yeah.
I talked to Peter and then all of a sudden, he said, let me talk to somebody, and I get this call. I understand you would like, yeah. No, you live in Route 37 Briar Hill? Yep, that's it, cause my address is Augsburg, but I said, yeah, it's Briar Hill.
Well, this, we continue to be, the lowest, animal on the totem pole when it comes to the zip code and what it does to us. But, no, we're not Augsburg or Morristown, but they don't know that.
We never had anything up in Briar Hill. Well, Citizens did the hamlet, and then they went across to the camp,
Yeah,
but now it's run all through up there.
so is it Fios, is it
It's
Verizon?
on your road.
No, it
Goes
stops
to the
at
Amish.
the Watson Road and then it goes, the Watson Road the other way, Atwood Road and the Warden Road.
Oh,
I'm caught right in the middle of the two
okay.
jurisdictions.
Same stuff you did.
And,
Hey, there's a cable that comes right down to Old Mills. Right on the corner.
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
But they go up and down the whole Warden Road, but they're not gonna come down the Old Point
They
Road.
went the other way to the Amish where there's nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, there are no customers. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'll get that number for you though.
Okay.
Call that guy.
So anyway, a little bit more on this. I don't,
Yeah.
how many people in this room today do not have either? I'm talking broadband here, not the old cable TV, which some of that is still around. Have either Verizon or Spectrum. You do not have it. Chris, you don't have it either.
No, I've got cable. But I do have Spectrum.
What do you do for internet?
Yeah, Spectrum.
Okay, that is maybe a little slower than everybody else, but the broadband is the high end of that. That's
Yes.
so you can stream TV and play games and do all the stuff that you probably don't want to do. Yeah.
And I'm wondering what your interest is in streaming.
Let's go there. That's a personal question. I will not answer. I just think there should be some competition. That's why I agree with Frank to take a look. But it sounds like Spectrum's playing with house cards.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And they really are. And I'm not sure that Fios would even be interested, although they're laying cable or hanging cable everywhere.
That
So,
was that state grant, it's probably done.
yeah.
Correct.
So they're ready for the day that either one spectrum goes down Verizon buys,
It's Fios, it isn't Spectrum.
Files is.
It's Spectrum.
Fios. is
Yes,
Verizon.
right,
Oh, we don't have, there's no spectrum up that way.
no,
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
what
see it in
else I can say.
Woodtown.
The interesting thing to me is, and the other thing is, why are we doing this for 15 years? Because that's it, again, in their favor. This contract, the franchise agreement, which I got from Jill, it's very clear that this is what they call a non-exclusive contract, which means another carrier, sorry, can come in, and that's what's been happening. They'll come in. But they go right up River Road East, right? When they did you guys, okay? They did us. They did all on River Road, all the way up to the park, so they could hook up the campers. And I don't think anybody on River Road is gotten into the FiOS. I could be wrong, but I'd sure love to know.
I know the new place we just did has Spectrum.
Yeah, it's usually put the house up there for, the other thing that was interesting was two of the town workers, two of your guys, Dean, were up our way about a week ago. And I was talking to them, they were looking at a pole.
Yeah.
And the first thing they said was that, there's an aside, I'll tell you. He said, I said, what's going on? Because I always like to know what these guys are doing, and they, well, I know these guys. And he says, one guy says, well, we're looking for a pole with a certain pole that National Grid wants to replace. And so they're looking at the tags on the poles, and they've come up to ours, and our pole has about a 12-degree list, and has for years. And every time National Grid comes up, I say, hey, you think you could get this on your list and get it straightened up? Oh, no, well, if somebody else would have to make, the usual,
run around.
Yeah, that's the problem. So anyway, it turned out that the pole was yours. Thanks a lot. And good for you. But anyway, that's by the by. But one of the fellows said that the reason he was able to get it was that he had what was called a Dropbox already installed, it was there on his section of the broadband. Now, the Dropbox apparently is a critical piece because that's how they.
That's a splice into it.
Yeah, that's how they splice in. to get
That's what the
use.
money costs.
So
Yeah.
I didn't have any drops on our street at all. Their last one was in Briar Hill, and they ran other cables with it to put drops in. So they just got added cable.
So they have a second cable to the drop?
Yeah, so they had to add, yeah.
Because the
You got-
splice is where the
Six?
money is.
The splice,
Wasn't it
When they
even
get
at
paid, they
six?
get paid to run. Like on these grants,
Yeah.
and then they have
Maybe that was
Verizon or
anything?
Fios comes back through and does the splicing. That's where the money is, and that's why they don't wanna do a splice at every house, they do these. Like it was cheaper to run all the way back to Briar Hill and run a new cable all the way to Sean's house. Than it was to do a splice.
so I say that guy's number. I sent it to you.
Yeah, would you, and.
I already did, you have it. I sent it.
Oh, okay, good.
And you got it too.
So really,
Maybe call that guy.
That money, already called him.
Oh, did
They're
you?
not coming down.
Oh, good, okay.
We're stopped.
Eli.
I understand that the current contract with.
They say that works good, that's better, like, no.
The current franchise agreement has expired, so when they say we wanna get back in effect, back in force. They're right, that's true, and they're also wrong about how they did it, because I looked at the template that the state put out. And this new agreement that they proposed follows it to the letter, I mean, it's ironclad. So, I don't know, but if you went for 5 years saying, we don't know. About technology, it's moving so fast, there could be something new. We all could have a little satellite dish the size of a rear view mirror. Sitting on the top of our house, and we won't need cable. Well, that's interesting. But, so think about going back to them and saying 5 years instead of 15 and see how they react. That's one thing you can do. And at the end of 5, you take a look at the situation and say, well, maybe we should open this up to a competitive bid, which you can still do. But it wouldn't be easy. They've got an awful lot of vested interest in even a little town like this. And once they let it happen here, then the door is open.
Yeah, sort of.
Right. So I don't, sorry about that, not a very formal report, but
Well, the suggestion is an idea between pursuing others. Not moving.
just go back to this guy, Pete, that's me. Sam.
Here comes Mike now, Mike.
Oh, okay. They might wanna tell their own tale because they both have a different, I think Mike's problem is he doesn't even have a pole down.
No, I don't think so.
But Pete's on.
So he must have ran it, out to the road then, Pete.
Well, bless you.
I bet they heard it.
Yeah.
I cry.
So is that what you're?
Yo, we got a seat for you right there.
Is that what except paper? Get it down. Is that where the board wants to go? Try 5 years?
Yeah.
Please, no chatting. We're in a hearing right now. 5 years, okay. I will go back to them.
Not gonna be on motion.
It's under other old business.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
The only other thing I would say, Frank, is anecdotally, several people.
Old dog named Michelle.
Several people told me that there were a lot of problems for special customers in the Hamptons, used to be the road. A lot of people weren't happy. Service was terrible. I can't say that about our service. Our special service is good. I think it's too expensive. So what? But the service has been good. And they are spending a lot of money right now. It's not working. Running new broadband.
Yeah, whatever.
On the other side of town, running it this way. And whether that's coincidence or whether it's, functionally, but trying to make something a little better.
Thank you. No.
Wait, do you want to say anything about this? We're about done.
Sure, this seems taken.
Is there anyone else who wants to comment? Is there anyone else who'd like to comment on this,
We just talked about.
this hearing that we have open at this time regarding Spectrum? The service?
He's not here either. If you know your name, you sure? I only ordained minutes.
No, okay, we'll close this hearing.
You have one more item. It's the local law of the New York State updates.
This part's easy. It's just, every few years, the state mandates that you have to update the 1203, which is the enforcement section of our local law. So when it was supposed to have been adopted at the end of 22, and it never was, so we just followed through and get it updated. There's not a lot that. That's anything, there's a few other things that are for operating agreements, but that's about it.
Let's see what's sign over here.
Yes.
So we're in the second session of this.
Yeah. Like I said, this is a state mandated update, so there's not really, we can't change the wording or anything.
So the hearing is still open, and it's a regard to this. Anybody have any questions regarding it? Something we have to explore?
Basically.
If nothing, we will close the hearing. Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, you mind? Ask the one that executive house or Joe or something.
No, no, we can't. And then,
Or.
Jill? Would we, since it's outside of the regular board meeting, would we be able to go into executive session?
Will you be able to get it completed by meeting
Yeah, that'd be
time?
quick.
Yeah, cause it would be considered a, special meeting,
Okay,
executive session.
You want, you want us to,
Yeah,
well, you need to make a motion.
for litigation.
Yeah,
Can I request going into executive session for litigation purposes?
Yes. Motion, I'll make the motion. Second. So then.
That,
I don't know who's that.
Jill would serve coffee and tea.
I'll get right on that, Frank. Oh. Just name it, bring the popcorn, but I want to. That's okay, I'm sorry. This is hard to hear. Of this
But they were sorry, the fact that they were at the museum's board meetings enough to.
Not my bad.
So did you move through, Frank gave me those, the deeds and stuff like that, did you go through?
I did not.
Okay, you know what, I'm gonna put them in a box up there, in the top of this, okay, and then everything's there, so.
Because Carol had mentioned about putting them in the lock box in the building, all of our deeds.
Well, you had said that, so I was hoping you'd look through to see.
Okay,
Look,
I missed that.
don't worry, I'll look through, and,
Because we can put it, we can look, on the tax program, like, all the tax map numbers, we can get those. And then
there's
we
actually
can match them up.
my thing on your desk, pins, odds and ends, it's actually, the place I thought that you could have a safe was in,
Yeah,
that's the only place it's gonna be found.
yeah, you're right.
You don't go to it, no.
Right. Well, I do for vital records. But I could have a small, like with the court packs.
Yeah. Right,
You know, just a small, big enough for those binder.
right. But like all of, you know, like all of the financial records, all of the, paper and stuff like that, it's in our years. So.
Probably will never be able to. Yeah, I know. But there are grants that, right.
I bought a pair of shoes that matched the dress that I bought on sale. Bought the shoes for $1 with the Salvation Army tops.
Now, when is the wedding?
October. Yeah. Whether, you know, we could, he was all in Charlotte, until November. I did the whole, the small wedding. We tried to, said that money towards something. And so we'll see if
Is that seat safe? How are you? You for that? You're so. Yeah. City. For this, the whole deal, yeah. I tried to come there.
Hey, I'm not gonna be able to hear anything down here now. I'm going up there. Oh. I'm gonna keep it warm for her. It's a nice chair. I'll leave my phone for Lisa's purposes.
Oh, man.
You want to drink?
Nice meeting So, I don't doubt. Already.
Yeah. Sit on the fridge. Sit on the fridge.
You don't want copies of your bylaws.
Gary, I'm good, thanks.
The regular monthly meeting of the town of Morristown is called to order. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All board members have the minutes from the last board meeting in front of them. Have they had an opportunity to review them?
Frank, I've reviewed the minutes, unless someone else has a change or a flip, I would, move that we approve them as submitted.
Motion was made. We have a second.
Second.
Motion been made and second. We vote on please.
Sean,
Alright.
David, Chris,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye. Motion carries. The minutes are approved from the May meeting. Correspondence. We have no correspondence. We're moving to public comment. And, because as we remember, interested people here tonight, the, public comment will be limited to 2 minutes. Because
Is that 2 minutes?
2 minutes? Yes.
That's our limit.
That's what's agreed, or the district going for that. I think. Never mind, I was gonna say, you've made your questions to us before, or your comments and.
I have.
Yeah. And I'm aware of what you brought with you tonight, because Jill shared it with me, and our code officer will talk to you about that.
The only, from what you presented, I guess, are found in our local law. The only thing I can say to that is that's considered commercial zone. And in our local law, I don't know if you've noticed the section that spells out what you need for, or what uses are special permits, what are, just site plan, and what you don't need anything for. That the concerts aren't really in any of those categories. So the section in our local law that is, gives all the regulations for special use permits. That would apply to those uses that require special use, which those do not, the concerts don't fall in those categories. So none of that pertains to the concert period. That's the only thing I'm, as far as the law goes.
I was aware of that because Joe had shared with me. And I thought before you presented all that, I know that she researched it and I wanted to.
Well, I was gonna try and keep it reasonably short. I wasn't necessarily gonna go into all the codes that we have found, whether they were state codes or local codes. And some other legal issues that we think might be relevant to this, but since last month, after going to making the presentation here, making essentially the same presentation to the museum board. We left with the understanding that there was going to be a working group created with the museum board, the town board, the fire department, DPW, everybody that was involved in this. And us, which I couldn't speculative about. So we waited for the call for this working group. And we had got nothing until then it was mailed on June 3rd. We have a copy of it. And that's the letter that you all have in your packets. And to say that I don't agree with a lot of the reasons. I think a lot of the concerns that were used to reject certain sites. Are very insignificant and could easily be remedied. And again, I want to tell everybody, I don't know how this has been put out or what's been said. This is not about stopping the concerts. This is not about stopping the concerts. This is just about the location. And the fact of how it affects us and where we live.
Being
I mean, to keep it relatively short.
Fay, we are the ones that own the post office building and have been blocked in for 2 years now of our drive, to get in and out of our driveway. We actually, our life comes to a halt on Monday nights. Now it's Saturday nights too.
You're either locked in or you're locked in this.
Right,
I mean, pretty much.
so if we go anywhere, we can't, unless we park up on.
So we have no access. I would. Like I say, the letter. It would have been nice to actually have the letter read in public, but that's probably.
Let me.
Because of the issues that
Let me
are
interject.
listed in.
Go ahead, I will, because a goodly number of people are not here, representing what your viewpoint is, I will give you the time to do it.
Well, as far as, I mean, we can take the regardless farm out. Let's not even talk about that.
Well, I don't think we
It's-
talk about any because it's their decision where they have it, not ours.
No, well, but it is the town's decision on whether it is allowed to be on the main street.
That much, yeah,
That.
but as far
So after that,
as far as the other places, that's for them.
okay,
So
well, that's fine, and then, and if you wanna just,
we don't have to talk about that because that would be their decision.
well, but it would be to a certain degree in this case, because what we're asking is that you allow these to take place in what I think is the best possible scenario is to have it in Bayside Park, which is also town property. So you would still have to give your permission, express permission to have it there and to use your facilities. So it would essentially just be moving it from Main Street to Bayside Park. It would
It
still
would be
be on
their,
town
it would
property.
be them to ask us stuff, so, okay, it'd be their prerogative to ask
Well,
us for that.
That's what the.
So, but I-
supposed to have been done.
That was, and we
I
did
didn't-
nothing on that.
Would you please, fill me in on that, because I sit on that, and
To do a working.
I didn't know.
Well, we were going to talk, but I didn't know about a working group with the town and everybody involved.
Well, that was the way it was, that was the way it was worded that was the way it was worded.
Right,
You
were at the meeting, right?
Yes, I was at the meeting.
so that wasn't my, that may have been your takeaway, but it wasn't mine, and we do have minutes from the meeting.
I'm gonna jump in, cause I've been,
For video of the meeting.
I'm gonna jump in, I've been against this. Being in the street, because that opens the town up, major liability, if somebody gets
No,
killed by it,
no, it does not.
oh shit, it does.
I've been through
I'm
it
telling
all.
you.
I've been through it all
Okay.
with our attorney and everything, and it's not.
I can tell you 100% it is. I mean, at the DOT, you have to get a highway permit, you have to provide insurance to the entity, that entity has to list the town of Morristown on their insurance policy. Same with the DOT. The town of Hammond, for the parade, they have to list their policy with the New York State Department of Transportation listed on it.
I believe
It
JJ's
doesn't
here
matter.
for that. I believe JJ's here for that exact same purpose tonight,
Yep,
for the 4th of July parade.
right.
He has to go through the channels, you have to provide all the. you
The
have-
Bayside Park, I think, would be phenomenal. That's my take. I don't care if people don't like it or not, but.
Is that still
No.
town property and would
Yeah.
require
So what
the
did you
same
like?
insurance?
Well, it's the traffic, you know, you're, not only Chris, but the post office, they start at 5:30, you block the post office.
I don't think you're
Okay.
listening to what I said. I said it is up to that group to come to us if they wanna have it on some property, town prop. It's not us, it's not up to anybody else to make six.
I agree with that, but
Okay, that's
we
what
don't
I said.
have to agree to have it in the middle of the
I'm
street,
not saying that.
that can get run over,
I'm not
no
saying-
problem,
I'm not saying. that.
which they haven't followed our policy in 2 years. To block it off with vehicles or something. I mean, 2 cones aren't gonna stop somebody from driving out through there, taking out 20 people.
And we're relying on Gateway Museum people to block the road for us. You can see it all.
What was do you have it in the minutes when they requested this and what the caveat was?
So, we were here at the February 11th meeting. And, you know, these issues were discussed. And on the, April 8th meeting, we talked about requirement for blocking off Main Street. And, you know, a map was made where they should put the blockades. You know,
Unless it was done, we have the copy of the February minutes. And if, from what we've been able to find in our reading, that there's been discussion multiple times about this issue. But we cannot find anywhere where there's actually been votes, yay or nay, for
It's never been a vote.
actual approval of these concerts. Which for, like I say, even for the fire department that's been doing parades for 50 years, it's in the minutes. I. We can't find anything where it's been approved, formally approved. For these concerts.
well, I've been to those meetings and we've talked about it.
It's never been voted on.
Well, you know, you gave us the map
I know
of where you're supposed to put the barricades.
Yeah, we've never had a formal aye on it. Never been voted on.
So let's go to the Bayside Park. To me.
Sorry, could I just raise the issue, if this is a public comment period, that we actually have public comment instead of a debate
Sure, Peter.
between a couple people?
Go for
I
it.
mean, you know, there are a lot of people here probably who want to speak. And if this goes on and on, I think people are generally speaking aware of the issue. And they ought to be able to have a chance to express their opinion one way or the other, it seems to me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean, this could go on for a long time. It seems to me. You could work out later on whether it's in the minutes and it's not in the minutes and all that kind of stuff.
I just think this letter more or less told them to stick it. You know, they've been here for 20 years, 30 years. And more or less says you have no after period, we're done.
No, we have
And
no.
I don't care with it. Well, go ahead.
Can I just ask, what would be the difference down in Bayside Park? Wouldn't there be a traffic issue too? And I don't wanna, listen, you have every right to voice your concerns, believe me, and I can totally see it. But the thing is, what's difference with going down there? I
Because
don't
you have
understand.
you have that big parking lot, plus it would be down in
So
the
you're just
Bayside
saying
Park
it's a liability if it's on Main Street, is that what you're saying?
with the traffic. This is a main thoroughfare.
No, it's not like Montreal, where I grew
Well,
up.
only takes one car.
I know, but isn't it kind of blocked off though? And if it's blocked
It's never
off
been
with
blocked off.
barricades, how could, if that is the case and you have to do that, then what about emergency vehicles? So either ways, you know, an issue. But I think, here's what you don't care probably what I think, but I totally agree with you have right to their opinion. The only thing sometimes you have to step outside and do what's best for the community, because when the concerts are there, Ellis does better, Iron Horse does better.
They're not.
so-
On Monday nights when they're.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. And Stoney's is there, even if they're not open, it doesn't matter, it brings people to the area. When it was up at the gazebo, there was practically not a lot of people. And the music is better now, they have more money because they generate more money, so they can have more events. Maybe we can come to some sort of solution. And I'm not saying that down by the river isn't good, but being on the main drag is the hype and I respect the fact that they have a hard time with that. But lots of cities, lots of towns block off the streets. I'm sorry, I've been to lots of concerts that have blocked off the street, so.
Not 10 times during the year or summer.
Well, I don't know. Is it Saturday now too?
Yes.
Monday and Saturday?
It's, in one case, it's a Monday, a Saturday, and another Monday. So 3 concerts in 8 days.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
I don't know what the solution is, but
But-
they've
but
worked
I-
so hard.
could I jump in, cause I feel like you might be
Okay,
able to not have this go all night.
all right,
Yeah.
Sorry.
next person.
Okay, so. We don't wanna go back up to the fire hall where it was because it wasn't successful. We don't wanna go to the preserve because we don't have the facilities. We could go down to Bayside Park. I personally, and I think the board, we're committed to staying in the business district because we do feel that it helps the whole town. We're here to uplift Morristown. We're not here to get into a fight. And if the town says that we can't have the street open, we understand that. We're reasonable people. We're here to make Morristown better. So we could not this year, because this year we've signed contracts, but next year, of course, if you don't allow us to close the street, we'll find a solution. I would say that we would need financial help to go down to Bayside. We need better electrical, we need a stage.
I'll donate anything you need, and I got the best electrician sitting across from you.
I mean, there's gotta be lots of electrical, they have that big Christmas thing up for.
No, we don't have
enough.
Not enough, not enough.
I have a heavy duty Esco core, Charlie, we can make something.
Sure. I worry about the goose coop.
Yeah.
Issues to
And
solve.
don't say-
Just a minute,
Yeah.
we said we gave somebody. Speak. You jumped in.
Great, they also need to identify themselves.
Were you finished?
Yes.
Yes. Were you finished? Laura?
Did you want me to identify myself?
I don't.
I'm sorry, I'm Ellen Place. I'm the museum board president. We've got, I think, just about the whole board behind us. We're not here to make anybody sort of fight. The only reason we come to work volunteer is to make Morristown better. So we can find a solution. We don't want to find a solution that we know didn't work in the past, of course, and we would like help to change gears. But we're not gonna do something that the town doesn't support.
Okay, okay, we're open to anybody else want to comment? Peter?
No, okay. It was definitely a failure of where it was before. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. To me, it's been one of the greatest successes in Morristown in recent times.
Yeah.
It really has. It's
Yeah.
drawn the community together in a way, I think, that many other things haven't done. There are people who come for the summer who come to this thing, there are local residents who come. It really has been, I think, a unifying event and a phenomenon, if you will, for the community. And it's precisely because it's on Main Street. That's what I would argue. It's precisely because it says this is a community that is together, that has its stuff together and is supporting something that brings the community together. And so, yeah, we might be able to have it down in Bayside Park. I would suggest that if you do, you want to build a really nice stage and you want to make it very professional, but I think it still doesn't do what it does on Main Street. On Main Street, it says, we're a community, we all support this, and this is what we want to do, and this is very important to us. I will add something that I probably shouldn't add. I don't know if anybody pays any attention to this kind of internet chat that's been going on about the potential of moving the bass tournament to Morristown in part. So that some years it would be in Waddington and some years it would be in Morristown. And the comments out there online are horrific, I think, from the standpoint of a Morristown resident. People are saying things like, well, you wouldn't want to hold it in Morristown. That's just a little podunk place where people don't have their act together and they can't pull together and they can't do anything. I mean, if that's the way people are perceiving outside, mind you, nobody from here says that. But if that's the way people are perceiving this place, we've got a lot of trouble going on. And I think we need to pull together and say, this is symbolic. This is where we want to have the community pull together. And I understand your concerns. I really do. But it's true. I don't live there, but it is a business district. It's a commercial district. In fact, when I wanted to buy a house here not that long ago and turn it into a residential space, I was told by the code officer in that time that I couldn't have a residence there because it was commercial space. Now, I think we changed the code maybe so that can happen. But that's what it said at that point. And I think this is the center of Morristown, and we're sending, I think, a signal to people. And I believe that it's brought the community together in a way that Nothing else has since I've been, I've taken more, I think they're not doing this, I really do. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So I would speak, I'm kind of more from the Oak Point Road, I'm in Norristown. Just to touch on, Fitzrandolph there, 30 years ago, the center of this village was the Bayside Park. When all the grant funding was secured to make it what it kind of was then, it has kind of fallen to the side. But I think it's a beautiful place to move everything to. Being able to block traffic off in that avenue and control traffic down there is way easier than on Main Street. And again, to go 30 years back, when I was a kid on a skateboard, we couldn't skateboard in the street. Because if somebody got killed, there was a liability. So like when Sean says, is there a mountain of liabilities having a venue in the middle of the street? Absolutely. When there is no traffic control. There's no lights, there's no signage, there's no proper barricades. Like he says, there's things that the fire department does to create permitting process to be able to do what they do for the yearly parade. And again, touching on the idea that there is no, there's been no legal conversation and approval for it with the town to actually pinpoint where the liability does lie. There's a huge issue. There's a huge issue. And as a larger taxpayer in the town, I think it's ridiculous. This doesn't need to be held at Chris's expense either. He should be able to freely enjoy to be able to come and go from his own property as he sees fit. I don't think that moving it from Main Street down to Bayside Park is detrimental to the success of the program. I think it's a good program. I do believe that it brings people in from outside of town to help show them what's here to enjoy the things that when they are open, Ella's, or Iron Horse, but, to be in front of, the museum or in front of Chris's house, they're not in front of either of those establishments either. So if they're in the backyard of the museum at the Bayside Park that has off-street parking and does have facilities down there, it is more friendly for communal events, and ability for everybody to control, the situation safely. Not just for the town, but for the fire department. If they have to get somewhere, then they're not wondering who's to blame when they do their job. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
My name is Charlie Boyd, I've done on Hooker Street. I sympathize with Chris and Lori. I get it. But that's the only negative thing I've ever heard of this concert series. It showcases the museum, which I think your attendance in the museum has to have risen, you know, because of the awareness of the museum. We're not in Manhattan. So some inconvenience, can we live with it? You know, can you guys live with it? Maybe. Well, here's a negative about Bayside Park. That's a boat ramp as well. Go down sometime, it's pretty busy. Okay, now you got a boat and a trailer and somebody waiting. Most of the time, somebody's waiting when you get there or coming in. That's an issue. You have to close the boat ramp, I guess. Because you can't have people with lawn chairs scattered all around there, and then a guy pull into the trailer. So, anyway, I like the idea of like, they talked earlier about a citizens group or whatever to come to a solution. I think that might help and put some heads together, level heads together. But I think it's been such a success, the concert series, and I would hate to lose it. I would hate to lose it. The museum committee has done a fantastic job getting it all together. Great entertainment. It gets better every year, I feel. More attendance every year. You know, just because Iron Horse isn't open on Monday, doesn't mean they won't. And that was the same way. I mean, it's, it's the only negative I've heard, and I sympathize for some things, I really do. I understand it. Maybe scheduling change as well, maybe only Monday night there, not Monday and Saturday and Monday and maybe you could work with the committee a little bit and figure something out.
You want to go?
Yeah, my name's George Cosler, I live on Main Street, Morristown, and I can see. By doing over down to the water, but where you're gonna park, you don't own that property. All you own is the boat ramp, and the park, you don't own that lot next door, if that gets sold and somebody puts something there, you're gonna have a parking problem, and we'll have everything else. And if it's a restaurant or a motel, there's not much room down there, unless Morristown steps up and buys that property, now you got something to work with. That's my concern, but when we get 50, 100 people, sometimes more than that, they're out there in the parks, driveway or the street. Tapping their foot, you got them out of their lounge chairs, off their couches, and you got them out in fresh air. It's pretty spectacular to see this many people out in this room. I feel for the people that cross the street. And there's other people, I'm sure, that don't like the loud music. I know there's some other things, but we all have to live here in this town. And it's a town, it's not a village anymore, it's a hamlet. So that's my 2 cents.
In the letter, it states that supposedly you're working on making it so that we can get in and out of our driveway during the concert. I want to see how you're gonna do that, and I'd like to see it tonight.
You want? We'll address that.
Yeah, Rick Johnson, Rogers Road, Morrison. That's a good question. It would be a challenge, no question. I would suggest that the town reserve a couple parking places down in front of the old Eastern Star for the face, to leave their vehicles in case, or one of them, in case they have an emergency or just need to go out. If they're not concert fans, so be it. They should have a space so they can get in and out. And the other thing I'd mention is that this Monday night thing is, Chris is doing much of the scheduling over the years. There may be a very good reason why we do it on Monday nights. But to Lori's point and Chris's point, the restaurants aren't open that night. So yeah, I guess they get some of the blush value, but they don't benefit in any way. Otherwise, they don't benefit financially. So could we think about next year, can't do it this, moving the night to a more appropriate night when the restaurants are open and working with the restaurants to get some kind of I don't know, a package deal, a promotion, a discount, something. But I'm a firm believer that this, I've watched the concerts for 14 years and this is by far and away the best location in terms of the appeal to the crowds. No question about it.
Would somebody like to address Lori's question?
Yes, we will map it out for you. Can I do it right now and hand it to you before I leave? No, but by Friday.
Physically be able to get in and out of my
Agreed.
driveway, no reserved spots.
Lori,
down
agreed.
the road.
Agreed,
in
not
and out.
agreed, not down the road, it won't be easy. We'll map it out, not tonight, but by Friday. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I'd like to address the Monday night, Saturday night thing, if you guys don't mind. From my point of view, having it on Monday when at least Iron Horse is closed is not a bad thing. I do think they get financial. I think it's better than a blush. I do think people come and they see the restaurant and they come back. And what concerns me about aligning it when the restaurants are open is that we're gonna have a bigger parking problem. So I do like that we do it when we don't have quite as much traffic. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris and Jessica, I think that always having the bands scheduled on Saturday night might make them more expensive and harder to book. So there is a reason for Monday nights.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyone else?
Yeah, my name's Jay Moore. I live right next door, and most of you are probably parked in my yard, but that's okay. I'm a lifelong resident here, and I want to say I think what the series has done is great. I do think it's great. I think it's outgrown the space that you have. That's not the museum space. That is a public street. Where do all those people park as it is? On the side of the road. By moving it to Bayside Park, you've now eliminated that risk of having everybody in the road. You can make accommodations down there much easier. There is plenty of power down there. Matter of fact, there used to be 10 boats plugged in down there every day. That's what the park was designed for. I think the concert's been wonderful. I think it brings people in. As to many points, the businesses are not open then. You know, maybe they would, you don't know. We could ask them to open, right? They could, whatever, but do people actually go in the museum that night?
Yeah.
You know, are you getting?
Yes.
That's the other
It is
thing,
a
right?
great, that's huge.
So you're right in the museum's backyard. But personally, I think you've overgrown the street venue. It's grown much larger to a good thing. I agree with you, Monday nights is much easier to book a band than any other night, do it. You know, I've always, as the fire chief, I've always come and asked permission to close the street for the duration of the parade. And that's it, once a year. I think every Monday night is a little bit much to ask somebody to not be able to access their personal driveway. Because you are denying them access to the driveway. And you're denying them access to the post office. So my recommendation is that there be a formal vote from the town, whether they can block the street or not. And if it's gonna be blocked, it has to be blocked appropriately. When I do it, I'm held to block it appropriately. And it's my responsibility when I block.
Anyone else?
Yeah, how do you address the boat ramp and the parking of the boat ramp? Down there,
Same way you do it with them,
what's that?
the same way you do it with them, you just do it, right?
And you have somebody down there that, if there's a boat coming in, that is prepared. It's gonna be no different than trying to get them in and out.
So somebody puts their boat in the morning and goes, and then comes back here, try to get their boat out, we say, sorry, you can't do that.
Monday.
Just like you're telling him he can't get in his house if he, right,
Unless they.
exactly,
Maybe let's not.
that's the point.
There's gonna have to be a
That's the
plan,
tough
it's
piece of
just
it.
like it would be. The plan that you want for that.
Boat launch was never planned to be blocked. The barricade would be on the northern side of the boat ramp, the boat ramp. The exit out onto Water Street would be open. Everything would be taking place to the north of that, towards the river.
And there's two rings, there's two entrances for the boat ramp, so.
And everybody comes in through that parking area now as well, so. And the town parking essentially goes all the way over to the pump station, so. There's plenty.
Yeah, but nobody owns that.
Right,
Yeah,
but
we
that
have-
was agreed
we
to
do.
at the
We
time.
don't own it, but
Town
we
has agreement.
have agreement.
You're right, but
Right.
how long is it gonna last?
For last year, the last 10, maybe more.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, if you're gonna put, anything like stage down there or something like that.
We don't have, you don't have a stage down here, so I don't think we need a stage.
It's true.
Well, it's the street, I think.
Tell me about the resurfacing that A1. Isn't that on the?
Not
is that on-
scheduled for this year.
It's on the schedule for this year. Cause it isn't pretty. Right now.
The vacant lot?
No, the parking.
The main boat launch, the blacktop.
Now, I'm gonna ask the question. If somebody comes in there. And parks, you ask them to leave when you're setting up for the. For the concert, if they're parked down in that.
That's easy enough to do during the day, just put some cones across them and park in it. Not getting away. I say,
It seems to be no issue with blocking off Main Street at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I didn't mean it that way, Chris, I meant if somebody was already parked there.
I know. Again, I think these are all issues that, I mean, there are some people that I've watched, I mean, I know some of the people from the museum, there's some problem solvers there. These guys can figure, and girls can figure it out. If there's an issue.
Well, why don't we go back to this, to what you thought you understood? That there was going to be that there would be a group that included yourselves. The me.
Whether we were invited or not, it was still supposed to be, it was stated to me that it would be museum, town board, fire department. Possibly.
I was there and I didn't, I'm not.
I was not that much space.
So it should be in the minutes.
I recall that. I guess there was maybe.
So.
No, not here. Meeting.
Well, it was mentioned here. That's what was happening.
So,
So what's wrong with that? Why not get to the museum people and you folks and Chris?
because we're
Lori?
4 weeks out now,
What's that?
and I said, we're 4 weeks out and concerts starting, Charlie. And it was supposed to be, it was mentioned at the meeting that it was a big priority, we need to get, we're gonna do this, we need to get it going right away. And we waited for a month and we got no correspondence until we got this last week. So. I don't know who made those decisions, I don't know. Who was at this meeting that was in this letter that, where they had. I would make that motion, accept their warrants. But I've talked to a bunch of, I've talked to counselors, I've talked to fire department. Jay, these people were never contacted or never made aware of this working group concept.
Okay, so make it
Not,
happen.
not from the, at least not from the.
Make it happen now then. That's gonna happen now.
Because
And
I
think-
come here trying to make these points. To move it through in a public forum.
Yeah.
And. It goes, this is, you know, this is the headwind that we're fighting against.
Yeah.
So all I can say is that if there's no. If there's no, formal agreements made by the town, then that leaves us no choice but to look into it from a legal standpoint.
If Chris, if it worked out with the,
I'm not against, we are not against this.
you know, we understand it.
Well, everybody says that, but there's always but.
Well, it's been so,
And you're welcome to your opinions. But nobody else has to live in the situation that we're in. And one of the things that I was going to do in my presentation that I have for tonight. I would ask you to think about anybody in this room. Is there anybody that has never had a problem with a neighbor? Whether their Harley's too loud, or their kids are too wild, or they're too fond of bonfires, or they party too much, or. On and on, they're jet skis in front of your house all the time, or whatever. This is essentially the situation that we're in. So think of your own feelings. Because many of the people that are on the board and at this meeting aren't even necessarily in hearing distance of these concerts. We're at ground zero. And there is no choice. When I sit in my house with the windows closed and can't hear the TV over the band, and I love music. I got music on all the time. And then on top of this, all the issues about, and we've been through a lawsuit before. I don't want another one. And the lawsuit that we had, the people were on the public sidewalk. And it came to us, we end up in depositions, and then our insurance company ends up paying a big settlement to this person. And they were never off the public sidewalks. So not only is it liability for the town and all the taxpayers in the town. Even with the caution tape, because the caution tape. People do whatever they want. The kids are running all over the site. Uncontrolled. You know, people are dumping their beer cans and stuff out in our driveway, and you look out and they're behind the tape and they're in front of the tape and. Up on the hill and on the retaining walls. I don't wanna go through that again. And moving it to Bayside Park, like I said, we're still gonna be able to hear it, that's fine. You can have as many concerts as you want. It's not about the night, it's not about. It's about how many times and where it is.
Okay,
That's down to bare bones.
you want,
Yeah, I just want to say a couple more things since there seem to be a lot of people talking. I would really disagree with your analogy about neighbors. You know, if you have a couple, one of the things I learned going up and down River Road East is there are a lot of neighbors who don't get along. It's kind of interesting, right? You know, it was very interesting. And so I saw it, but there's a real difference. You're talking about two people against an entire community.
Yeah.
Not,
Which
let
you
me
and
just
I
finish,
receive
let me just
and-
finish.
and we get-
Not, it's not like Charlie and I live next to each other and we're not getting along. And I would just say this to the board. You know, you represent the whole community. Not two people, and I understand your inconvenience.
And-
On the other hand, if I lived there, you asked what would I do, I would park my car someplace else for those nights. I would have honestly, have no problem doing that. And I would say I'm doing a community service. I don't think that's a huge deal. Myself.
Well, what
And
if
I-
we wanna stay in our home and we wanna be able to watch TV? What if I come ill?
You're in a commercial area.
Well, he's really sick.
Yeah, and the only other thing I would say is you can form all the committees you want to.
That's not good.
I don't say. we're done.
You can form all the committees you want to, but you're never going to accept leaving it there, are you?
He's got, the people on this
No.
board are
Very
are supposed to protect.
Very generous. Peter, I totally disagree with you with this, because it is, I know it's two people that are complaining, but they're not the only two people that are complaining about this. There's a lot of people that feel the same way. The museum board got together, got some people together. There's a lot of people that feel the same way, that they shouldn't be on Main Street, that it's closed off. Bayside is the perfect place to have it. That's one reason when the village was still the village, we went through, we did grants. We got the park improved down there. I think also too, the board needs to take a vote and decide where it can be held. And that's the board's decision for the town of Morristown.
And I hate to bring this up,
Just, I want to ask a question. Explain to me about the contracts being signed and how that affects it, if in fact it was moved.
What are you telling me, Greg?
Way back then.
Um,
Somebody.
Yeah, like contract has been signed last fall. Last fall, because and they're all signed because of the grants that are written. So we have to book all of the entertainment prior, so they all are all signed. I don't know, I mean, if we'd be able to keep everybody for. And I have to say, I'm not against like moving to Bayside. Frank and I used to talk about building them, and when we talk about to get off track, we're not talking about a massive stage, but I mean, if it were down there, we'd need a little more than what we have, because we would have people backing out because they're not going to set up in the grass.
That
Make
is,
those poop and everything, but it's
Yeah,
on their contract, so when they sign the contract, the location is right on there. What we're providing them as far as electrical and everything is right on there. So the contracts are probably the biggest. issue for us.
let me ask this.
can I ask one question?
Can I ask one first?
Go ahead.
If there was an honest effort to relocate it and done it properly, would you be able to work with it through this season, if everything else is met, safety's all met?
Is there any way that the bigger bands could go somewhere else, like any other water, double? I know, I'm just saying, though. Hold on.
No, what happens when it rains? It's on your website, or I'm sorry, it's on their website. The rain arena, in case of inclement weather, is the fire hall underneath the pavilion. So where does the contracts, let's say that then?
You'd have to ask the people.
It's stated on the contract that in case of inclement weather, it's.
Right. Which means that it doesn't, depending on mother nature, it doesn't have to be on Main Street. It's not a yes or no. I mean, if you already made provisions to move it to a different site in case of inclement weather.
And you guys did not guarantee them the ability to keep it there. So how do you go into a contract without a guaranteed venue to begin with?
I think,
It seems.
I believe, and I can't recall how it was brought up, that it could be there. I think we asked about, could the street be legally closed? Was there? Insurance law? Do we have it? So anyways, I think because they didn't get a definite no, they assumed that they could have it there this year. This wasn't brought up until.
No, I was at your meetings by myself, And I asked about this, and it was months ago, there was nobody else here at that meeting. And I asked about, you know, just guaranteeing us like you did in the past. And, you know, I talked to the state police whether we needed a permit, and they said no. If I was gonna close, if we were gonna close out 37, we need a permit, but they said, no, as long as the town allows it, that's all it's needed. And, you know, when I've been to several of the meetings since, and nobody said, Rich, whatever, you can't have it on Main Street. I believe, you know, we did the responsible thing and months ago appeared before this board, and I believe you folks would remember it. And as far as, the post office, you don't live in a regular house. You live in a house where 6 days of the week, you have to allow the public access to that building. And, you know, essentially our money has been paying your mortgage. I mean, you get paid to have that public access to that building.
My finances are none of your business, Rich.
That's really.
Yeah, Rich.
Yeah, that's a little, and there are plenty of houses, there are plenty of residences in the.
All right,
business
let's go
district.
over
Yeah.
We'll vote on the, if we can have it there now, it's my feeling.
And I'm sorry, hate to bring this up. I feel Chris is a conflict, he is on both boards, here and there.
I think,
That's
I don't,
unfortunate,
I
but
don't think you
it's
had
a
to,
conflict.
I don't think you had to say,
for voting.
I don't think you had to say that.
I thank you.
I know, I agree, I think that was important, and it's out there, everybody
I
knows it
applaud
now.
Chris for saying that, because
And
I'm
I
sorry,
knew-
but
I
that
knew-
is.
I knew you would.
I know, but I think people needed to know that.
Okay, well, then the hearing is,
Got a gentleman over here with his hand up, right?
yes, sir.
This is the first town board meeting I've ever been to here. My name's Kevin Norsworthy. We have a piece of property down Hooker Street. And I guess I just want to comment on how disappointed I am in the fact that something that has brought so much joy to the town has caused such division. It's really too bad. I feel bad for you guys. I hear the conversation about liability. That's gonna be an issue if it's on town property down there or town property here. The music being loud, I don't see that the decibels are gonna decrease that much by moving it there. On the other side of the coin, I do say that that's a nice piece of property. I mean, I see both sides of this, so. I guess it's gonna be up to the museum and the town, but if the town has this vote now. And says, look, we're not going to allow this. Then where does that leave the museum?
Yeah.
That's all I wanna say.
Yeah.
No concerts.
No confidence.
Hi, this is Sarah Raffin. I'm from Morristown originally. I just have a question about the board. So there's 6 members standing. Do you have,
Actually, we only have
there's only 4?
4 of us, one of our members is ill. Normally,
Well, so one's missing today?
yes.
Okay. So there will be 4 people voting total, and what would happen if it's tied?
Because there'll be 3 people voting.
There'll be 3.
Person's gonna abstain.
I think
I don't know that that's, so it's 3 people voting on behalf of an entire town where I'm not here year round and I can clearly see where the board members stand just from their disposition up there on the,
That's a problem.
So I do think that that's a concern regardless of which way they vote. There's only 3 people making a decision for an entire community because one's removed themselves. That would just be my concern.
Never mind.
So we should buy what.
Right, it's super important, again, think about Bayside Park. And the boat ramp, and the boat traffic, and the boat truck and trailer down there. Think about this, a boat, I'm looking at my boat, and put my boat up on the trailer, and there's a concert going on. How's it gonna work? How am I gonna get the boat in the water when we had to make a big swing, especially if you have a sizable boat? That's really difficult, so think about that when you're thinking about your stuff, right? It's an issue. And then we have a beautiful boat ramp there and everybody uses it. Think about them in the bass tournament.
times when that parking lot is full of bass boats, and that happens to be on Monday night. So anyway, it's something to throw into the mix.
And if Chris wants to go out and purchase a big boat of his own, and he wants ingress and egress to his own property. And he's trying to maneuver around people that don't have the approval to be there.
Come on.
If they just find a way for you to go out of your.
I think they went into a contract without having.
I don't think so, there's, I don't think.
It's unfortunate.
That's what, you know, that's what that's how, this is how I feel. But everybody, it's what I said before, there's a but. There's always a but.
My name is
Trying to lay
Ann
out what.
Crandall. I'm the secretary of the museum board. And the night that you came and addressed the museum board, I took the minutes. And we set up a working meeting. We suggested a working group. And I do have the minutes at home. I don't have them with me here. We set up a meeting and we set a date at that meeting while you were there. And we had the meeting and you didn't come.
What day was it? No.
When?
Frank came representing the town. I can get the information for you.
Remember the fire department, the DPW, the whole, everybody that was involved, everybody that had a stake in this was supposed to be.
I have the minutes and I would be happy to share with them. My recollection is, and we went forward and we had a meeting and we had all the consultation and Ellen explained all of, may I please? We explained piece by piece after contacting all of these individuals what we had considered. But the bottom line right now is we have a 2018, in good faith, we came to you 4 years ago and we asked for your permission to put it on Main Street. And I don't know whether there was a vote then, but we obviously had your approval. And we've been doing it for all of these years. We've been doing it for branding. We are doing new exhibits. We have programs going on in the museum. We have 4 programs every summer. We have 60 to 100 people coming to save Blind Bay, to do things that benefit the greater community. So the museum is growing, and the reason the museum is growing is because of the concerts. Because concerts are helping us bring in extra money so we can do programming. And I know that none of you want that to stop. We have signed contracts, we've gone forward, we have 10 bands coming in. The only band that sets up early is the 10 Fountain Division, and they have their dinner at 4:30, I think, at Iron Horse. But nonetheless, what I would ask you to do is have a vote. Allow us to continue for 2018. Have the working group sit down. 2025, let's say 2018. We knew it was about. We knew it was about. 2025. 2025. And do our concert and get this working group together and make the arrangements for Bayside Park. And we would ask you, the museum will come to you and ask you for a considerable amount of money to make sure that we've got somebody picking up Goose Coop, making sure that we do all of the things that everybody needs to have happen. And otherwise, the concerts are done. We've got money that we've got coming in from the grant from St. Lawrence County. We've got support from all of the community. Let us go forward with our plan, have a vote. Refuse us permission for 2026. But let us go forward this year and get our working committee together and see if we can get Bayside Park up and running. Thank you.
Is there a way to make it so they can, is there a way to make a plan where they can get in and out of?
We will have to.
Yeah,
we
I
will.
mean,
We would have to.
for this year, make it so they can get in and out of the door.
Okay, is there any other?
No, they don't.
Frank, I'm Jeff Swift, a longtime resident, 70 years, and I'd just like to make a couple comments. First of all, I'd like to really recognize the non-for-profit volunteers that really work hard to do what they've done for this community. I mean, that they've done more than anyone in my lifetime to promote Morristown, and you know that's why I live here. I mean, I love it. But I wanted to comment. Charlie's touched on it a lot about the Bayside Park. Bayside Park is, you know, you're talking about using the side where the facilities are. for the concert, well, that's fine. But it's a parking issue, and those of you who lived out here all your life, before the harbor was, in existence at the time, people lined at both sides of that road down there, which is a lot narrower than Main Street, and it was hard to get through then. So you can imagine what it would be like having a concert at night, somebody coming in with a boat, trying to get in there and maneuver, or coming off the water and it's full and they're way in the back trying to maneuver a trailer out of there. That's gonna prevent some issues. And the thing that really got to me was, I'm a boat owner myself, and I've had 3 instances backing in there where children are down there swimming or playing around, and all of a sudden they're darting between my boat and the truck line backing up, and I don't even see them pretty run over. So that's always an issue that's come to me because, I've come close a lot there. So that's something that really needs to be looked at if and when it gets moved. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it would be unfair to move it this year, that's not.
Any more comments? If not, we will move on with the with the business at hand. All the business. The vote will happen, that's in the minutes, that's on the agenda. It's not gonna happen a week.
Person.
What is the vote?
Okay, so, everyone should have a copy.
I know.
We don't have a financial.
Sorry.
What is the vote exactly for? Right.
One
Are
last
they looking
question.
for it to move this year?
Is there
Did you get your question
I
answered?
think so, yeah.
Okay,
are you guys gonna vote tonight or not?
it's on the agenda to be addressed.
Number 8.
But will there be a vote?
I.
But it's-
No, we do it needs to
It's
happen.
fair to have both.
Let's get it over with.
Yeah.
And what is the vote?
So,
What is the vote?
so someone's gonna need to make a motion, so. So I'm. This is tough. I'm with you guys, I think it is too late to cancel things. For this year, so like this, they've got everything going. But. I will go make a motion, you can have it this year, but next year, it's not, to me, it's not gonna be things.
You'd like
Needs
to
to,
put,
it needs to go to baseline.
we'd like to put that in motion.
Put it here, baseline.
I'll second that motion with. Caveat that
Oh, yeah.
their driveway is wide open, there's no one little lane to get in there, it's the whole, more or less you have to push the concert down off their driveway, downtown farther.
And permits, we need to see if there's any
You know, it
permits,
kind of-
and I want no liability.
Yeah.
I want someone making sure who is viable. Not both sides. And a permit.
So is the vote for all of those things that you guys just added?
Yes.
I'd like to
Is
hear,
someone ready?
I'd like to hear the motion.
I'm writing.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Then she'll read it back once she has.
Yes. I'm going back to my original question. So if you can get in and out of your driveway, that's not the biggest issue? I just don't know. I didn't know what your issue was.
That's only one.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
Noise.
It's
the noise?
the noise level, it's the parking, it's the people not respecting private property. Those are the big 3.
Okay.
There's a motion.
Is there a fence? No, there's no fence on that property?
It's the post office.
No, nothing. Yeah, but they paid a significant amount of money for somebody that fell on that sidewalk, it's a town sidewalk,
I mean,
they paid
that's,
a lot of money.
that's liability for anyone walking on any street. not for their home ownership, but for the city or for the town.
That was on their home ownership, they paid a significant amount of money. For a person that fell on the town sidewalk. Yes.
We got to ask the attorneys, but it ain't landed on us.
I wonder why that would be, it doesn't make sense at all.
Because they're renting, they're leasing it, right? So unfortunately, you're reaping the benefit of the lease. So you have some responsibility there. But
So they fell into post office.
And another thing, there should be 2 board members minimum keeping people off their property.
I agree.
There are
Well,
five
not.
board members.
They're on their wall and all that.
Frank, no, that's stop.
When Joe's got the motion, could we call the motion?
Right, and that-
That's what she's putting it together right there.
I'm not saying that the museum has not made an effort to help control things, but it's hard to be 100%. And it puts, and I mean, I'm sure those people don't want to be that person.
I don't think,
Get off, and
I
it's
don't
like,
think,
well, who are you?
I don't think we need to discuss this anymore. I think we all absorb all pros and cons. Motion is being put together right now. Everybody will just indulge us. We'll have a motion, we'll have a second, we'll vote.
Dave Van Order made a motion to allow this year's 2025 concert series to happen on Main Street and to make it so that Chris and Lori Faye's driveway is completely wide open and the concert is moved further down the street.
That was his. We want that, otherwise he.
Sean added that.
Where,
I will-
you need to be a little more specific, move down the street.
Yeah, push all the people down so their driveway go. You could be at an angle.
Angle towards our.
Angle toward ours.
So Dave made the motion to allow this year's 2025 concert series to happen and to move it to Bayside in 2026. Sean seconded with the
Amendment.
with the amending stating to make it so Chris and Lori Faye's driveway is completely wide open and the concert is moved further down the street.
And also you want the permit or the permit.
Insurance.
Insurance, thank you.
That's.
Insurance and permits. Will.
You want. You want. You're going to the insurance for those things.
I know it's big, you have to, but.
I don't even know where it was.
Yeah, those there, you have to provide the insurance.
It's going.
So then it happens, a lot of,
So,
I think it's on.
no, they have.
Jay, am I correct in saying that when the fire department has the parade, you have to have a liability?
Yeah, we have a
certificate
liability
of
rider,
ownership.
yeah.
So that's what would be next up there.
Liability, right?
So you want to read that one?
It's a million,
Dave made a motion to allow this year's concert series 2025 to happen and to move to Bayside in 2026. Any insurance and permits will be needed to be given to the town prior. Sean seconded the motion with an amendment stating that it is that make it so that Lori and Dave Faye Chris and Lori Faye's driveway is completely wide open and the concert is moved further down the street.
Joe, you can say ensure that they drive right.
Thank you.
Did you accept the amendment?
Yes.
That part of the motion?
Yes.
Are you sure you want to commit right now to moving it the date?
Point of order,
Bay Street.
it's, the motion's being read.
Sorry about that.
I think we're doing it like now, and we're getting permission. So we-
Dave made the motion to allow this year's 2025 concert series to happen and to move the 2026 series to Bayside. Any insurance and permits will need to be given to the town. John seconded the motion, assures to make Chris and Lori's driveway completely wide open and the concert is moved further down the street. Dave agrees with the amendment.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Think about. Dave,
I don't even think you can do this.
Frank,
No, I'm supposed to.
Oh. okay. Sean. Frank,
I'm gonna abstain because I've been too close to. I've been so close with them.
You can. Yeah, sorry.
I thought.
Well-
That or you don't vote?
okay, so Dave said
Yeah.
Dave said yes, Sean said yes, Chris,
I abstain. I have a conflict of interest.
Frank,
No,
motion passes for 2-8. No, and one extension.
okay, that is, that motion has been addressed. Now we can get into the revenue.
Yeah, and, I got an easy one. I didn't know there was gonna be a big crowd tonight. And Dean might be able to help.
Oh, we're still in.
Can we still be in public comment for about, I won't even take 2 minutes. For anybody here that's on the town sewer, there's a bunch of us, some are, you know, those candy canes. I was hoping that you would direct, is Deb Painter still managing the website?
Yes.
Maybe direct her and Dean, help me out if I've got this clear. Those candy canes, I've had a little issue, guys are right there in the heartbeat fixing it. If you have a vacuum leak or some other problem, you can hear it in the candy cane. So if you walk by your candy cane and it's going, you have a vacuum leak, which affects, and our, we have 82 units. It affects everybody. So if Deborah put, you know, vacuum leak, or the other day when.
We just sent a whole big flyer out in everybody's sewer bill. About like, on the same.
Do we, okay, I didn't understand billions. Okay, but just talking
Yeah,
about,
I think
pay attention to those candy.
Yeah.
canes.
I think it is, I think Deb already has it on the website.
I looked at the website, I didn't see it, but maybe
She
I
was
missed it.
gonna copy it or put a link to it.
Okay, that's all I have. Listen to your candy canes. We want the poo-poo to go where it's supposed to go.
I thought maybe you wanted to make them red and white.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, can I have? Jay Moore, the Morristown Fire Chief. I would like to ask for your guys' continued support in our 4th of July celebration that's been going on for well over 100 years. Here on the main street, and like for permission to close the street for the duration of the parade.
Could I ask, just a minute, could I ask a question? Is there a way that people won't start pulling out when the parade's still going on? You're down around the corner, you think parade's over because people are leaving?
Yeah.
And there's still more marching bands and et cetera. That needs to be policed.
What is it?
We've never had an issue with it before.
People start driving away. and-
Marching bands,
So backed up?
the bands typically don't get backed up like that, but we have in the past had people at the intersections.
Yeah, people-
We don't shut the street down until we get closer to start the parade.
Yeah, no, I'm down like Jan's after I jump
Yeah.
out. And I'll be there and then.
Get in the middle of the parade,
Is the parade over? You know, you don't know because there's. this
they're around the
gap-
corner before
big
me.
gap, but then there's a whole bunch of people that start leaving, so you think, oh, must be it's over. But is there any way you can control that?
No, I think that's a new point, you know, what I mean, I think that's you just carried on rhetoric, I think, you know what I mean, from the last hour. But we've never had really that issue before, and the parade disbands after it turns the corner.
No,
The
no,
bands typically will not march up the street, they all kind of,
People coming down the street.
the street is blocked at the top.
no, what I'm,
I
what
think
I'm.
he's, I think he's talking, are you talking about people jumping in the middle of the parade more or
Yeah.
less?
Oh,
yeah.
That was the point he was trying to make.
Yeah, and leaving in, you know, from where I must be parade's over. No, it's not. Nah, there's still more to come, but people are already coming out. I don't know if you can, I don't know if there's any reason.
Try to do better.
We'll do better. I'll make sure I send you a text when the parade's over.
I make a motion, we all go use the street.
Second. Roll call, Bill.
John,
Aye.
David, Chris. And Frank.
Now, we'll give Joe the floors. Joseph?
No, this is the lawyer's guy?
No, you got caught waiting.
Okay, stand next to each other.
No, I sent you dinner and show.
Yes.
Yeah, where you going?
That's why I want.
Stand in the front,
Okay.
Jim.
The doorman, the doorman.
Okay, so, what I wanted to do was touch on the high points of, what the county was involved in the past month. And I've condensed it down to what at least I feel is, the important parts. And, what I wanted to do is just start it off and tell you that, remember, June is dairy month in St. Lawrence County. Dairy is the biggest, business that we have, and the St. Lawrence County Board of Legislators supports it 110%. If you see one of our farm beings here in the Morristown area, say hi to them and thank them for doing what they do. They're a hard working bunch. And it's a never ending work. So, what I wanted to start on is, the, jail situation in Canton. We have right now 24 inmates that are sentenced from county court to state prison. They are currently being held in the county jail because the state of New York will not pick them up, saying they don't have a room for them or they don't have the staff to do this. And I can understand that because they're talking about the 62 counties that they have to pick prisoners up and deliver them to state facilities throughout the whole state. But the fact remains is that it's creating a tremendous cost in St. Lawrence County. And guess who is paying for it? Okay.
Does the
So
state not reimburse us for any of that?
is the state what?
Does the state reimburse us for the housing of these particular, as you said, 24?
Some for some of the time. I can tell you that for the first 10 days, 10 business days, that they are state ready. The state does not pay us enough. And when they do pay us, they pay us $100 per inmate per day. And that does not come close to covering what the cost is. One of the issues being that we have what's called a MAT program, MAT, medically assisted treatment. That says an inmate that needs help getting away from the drugs that they were on when they come into the facility is entitled to receive any medication that's available to them to treat them for their addictions. Essentially, what we're doing is giving them drugs in prison. And you don't want to hear my estimation. Right now,
between February and the end of May, we've had 9 prisoners picked up out of the 33 that were there from the first part of February. So that leaves 24 in the facility. Counting what the medication costs, and it ain't cheap. We just, originally, when this came into being a couple of years ago, we appropriated $250,000 for the meds. We had to add another 300,000 to that here within the past 3-4 months. And the sheriff indicates that it's going to go much higher. So, we've gotta come up with that kind of money, budget it, and, it's our responsibility. The little bit that the state reimburses us is a pittance. 3-year average of the monies that they cost brings us up to using 24 as the end year, about $414,000. Of which the reimbursement from the state was $109,000. So you can see the big burden on the part of the accountant. I just thought that that's the kind of stuff that ought to be made public. It ought to be out there for people to be aware of this and to, it might give you cause to wonder, how do them guys not have to raise the tax rate? You know, it's been a job, but we've been very successful in boosting our fund balance and handling budget situations. And hopefully we can keep it up, but you know, nothing is certain. During the month, we authorized the filling of an additional coordinator's position in the real property tax department. I think you all know why. You probably all read about the issues that we've had with real property and the mistakes that were sent out, which ended up costing the county about $250,000 that taxpayers had to pay. County's fault. We also authorized the chair to sign an agreement with an outfit called CNS Engineers for professional engineering services for the St. Lawrence Highway, St. Lawrence County Highway Department to add administrative and maintenance facilities at the new site that we currently housed in between Potsdam and Canton. And that was a $900,000 cost for those engineering services. When we get done, it'll be an additional 12 to 14 or 15 million to build the facilities that would be needed. We're not looking at raising the tax rate in order to fund this either. We're looking at bonding, we have to, and some help from the state and money from the fund balance. So that will be a work in progress here soon, but you won't see it. They'll be in their offices and they'll be doing work there. Once it gets going, they will be overseers for the project. They will provide oversight. They will provide all the plans and specs that we would need or the successful contractor would need to complete the job. And we're looking at it, from the start, which was awarding that contract, to the end of it, probably 2 years down the road. That we'll have a facility there that has long been needed. When I went on board a number of years ago, one of the goals was to move the facility that we have in the village of Canton right next to the railroad tracks and the Hoot Owl. Totally inadequate, and, a lot of traffic, a lot of truck traffic coming out of there. Plus the fact that it is a populated area and, it causes some problems for the village of Canton. We also authorized the chair to sign a memorandum of agreement with Clinton County, Essex County, Franklin County, and itself, St. Lawrence County. And that is to join a tri-county special response team. I won't go into a lot of detail with it, but it would provide expertise in several different fields with respect to a serious incident, a hostage incident, situation. Anything along the lines that, one single agency probably wouldn't be able to have the expertise and the equipment that would be needed. So it's provided for in state law. It passed in our board and it's going to get done. There's no real cost involved to do this because there's already equipment spread throughout the 4 counties that would be able to be used, should the need arise, or when the need arises, I guess. We authorize the chair to sign a contract with Jetta Environmental Services under the Blighted Property Program. And it would be for the demolition and abatement of any, petroleum issues on 2 structures within the city of Ogdensburg, not out of the town, within the city. That's been part of the board's goal, is to get these blighted properties, regardless of where they are, back on the tax roll. Solid waste transfer station in Ogdensburg. We've had several issues with that in the past several months with the breakdown of equipment that has been in there for since it started, since we opened that transfer station. It's breaking down, it's not holding up, it's not, the repairs that had been done to it weren't adequate. We've got to do something. And that's in the broadband. We contracted with Slick. They're in the process of installing in the southern part of the county. They finished up essentially the north and the west side. So the south and the east side is what's getting addressed now. Let's see. One of the things that we feel is going to be coming here, and it's gonna come from the state, is they're gonna demand that the counties take over emergency services. And that is going to be a very expensive project. You're looking at St. Lawrence County, isn't like Watertown, which is the center, and you can put everything that they need in Watertown. You can't do that in St. Lawrence County. You've got 5 population centers. If you're going to staff those 5 population centers with emergency services, you gotta have equipment. You gotta have a building to put them in and to house your equipment. You've got to have the equipment and the necessary those things that go along with it, the medications and all the stuff that is needed in an emergency situation. So I would think that the state is going to mandate that pretty quick, and we're gonna be on the hook for that. Planning is underway for some additional communications towers. We just finished the negotiations for the one in Waddington, and we're looking at Potsdam, Star Lake, Cranberry Lake, and a place on tower facilities that are currently on Mount Morris. So for $1 million plus per tower, we're gonna be spending some money on those things. Budget starts for 2026 here towards the end of June, and we're all looking forward to that. And I think that about, covers the important things, as you can see. It all boils down to the almighty dollar. And, you know, so far, we've been very lucky in managing our money or your money. And, things have, you know, progressed well. Hopefully, we can, you know, continue to do.
We ever put that 911 tax on the cell phones? Is that? The revenue?
Revenue. I gotta tell you that, they're, on the cell phones, it's really a minimal amount. I really question whether everybody is either phone company is, you know, taking care of it or whatnot. It's 30 or 35 cents per line. Okay? There is another, and we are getting money for that. But I just questioned it here just the last month about, this just doesn't add up. You know, if you figure we've got 108,000 people in St. Lawrence County, 80% of those people, probably 100% of those people have cell phones. And their kids have. And so just a round figure of 80,000, and the monies that we're getting from that, they don't add not a bit. So.
We'll figure.
Any questions? Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Pretty patient.
I'm sorry to get it along.
Frank, before you go on, can I just make a couple of comments? Okay, first of all, you know, when you turn down onto Gay Street and there's the walking path. That's not for car use, correct? Well, there's a white car that keeps using that as a right-hand turn.
That's the expressway.
He has a solution.
So there's a stone, we've been trying to wait to see if they're gonna pave it, I didn't wanna set stuff on there or do stuff and then have to move it for paving.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
and we know it's a
What car
problem.
you're talking about?
Yeah, that's one of my questions. Another of my questions is, I know that Ted is involved with your grant for, you know, with doing things down there. Is there some particular reason, since he's talking about doing things for Morristown, why he doesn't pick up his property down there and make it look a little better instead of the way it looks if he's talking about putting all this investment into Morristown?
I would have to bow to our code officer on that.
Why would we?
Pick up his mine.
Who is it?
Ted.
Ted Goss. It has the collection apparently down.
Yeah, he needs to, it's property maintenance. I mean, it just concerns me if he's talking about putting all this, or being so involved in it, that he doesn't at least pick up them, because it looks awful. And it's not, I didn't mean to. No, I all turned to you, I know.
Well, I turned her because she's a code officer, she gets to deal with that dirty work.
Right, but I'm not sure that anything there is code, but it's more the fact that if he wants to be involved in making Morristown look nicer, that he would at least pick up his stuff.
You wanna have a conversation with him? One-on-one?
I don't mind.
Why don't you?
Yeah, and when I say him, I would, I haven't seen him. My other thing is there a?
You said two.
Yeah, no, I said three. Is there a significance with the bicycles around the house?
Yeah. Just.
Because first of all, I think they're a real liability, the handlebars and things like that. Second of all, they're just hooked on with those,
Zip ties.
yeah, and they're gonna walk away. Plus, I personally think they're ugly.
Okay.
That's my personal
Yeah,
opinion.
and I've had it both ways. I've had the very positive thing, and basically it was my brainchild to do it.
Okay, I have not heard it positive about it. I've heard more negative, but like I said. But I'm just saying, if Morristown was bicycling community or something, fine, but
It was
the
one-
colors just don't make sense to me either.
I wanted to stand out. That's why.
They stand out, Frank. They stand
I
out.
didn't wanna make them black and match the railings.
I'm worried about
somebody leaving the air course, but no, handlebars in the head.
I guess I was just asking. Just my personal opinion, but I am a biker and I like bikes. I think they add character to.
And I'm a biker.
I just can't stand one. But then again, we're not all gonna agree on everything, right? Just putting that out there, there's
Here
two.
we go, yeah,
there's
here
two
we go,
problems.
it goes in, it goes
No,
out.
I mean, that's fine, if somebody, I thought that somebody else.
Next to the agenda.
15 years.
Pardon, yes.
Sorry, I just wanted those answers.
Okay, so, so we get back to the business of hand. Financial report, we never have, it doesn't come out till, we don't have it.
Usually Carol does this.
Yes.
She's not gonna.
Okay.
There was, a notice there that you asked Kristen to write up regarding National Grid.
Yes, you want to share that now?
It's right. that's
Oh, it's in
under-
our board, we're in our packet.
Behind old listening.
Hmm.
It's just a short little paragraph. Right.
Oh, I told her she didn't have to put one in mine, because I knew what it was about. So. Dave, you questioned about the late charges.
yeah.
So this is how it's been addressed.
Yeah.
Okay. So any question out there, we've enrolled in an online auto pay, so that we're not, because they wouldn't get to them, or we wouldn't get the bills to them until it was too late not to have late charges. So this is how we've addressed it. Dave brought up the question, I believe, one day when you were signing the.
Yeah, we have the late charges.
Yeah, so this is how, this has been addressed. Okay. So now we'll move on to the Black Lake Association. I told you gentlemen that we come back this month with a decision on how much of a contribution, what contribution you might want to make for the request.
What have we done in the past? It's been nowhere near 11,000.
No. No, I think it's.
2,500? Again, I think we're just beating the dead horse there, it doesn't seem to go anywhere. Nothing ever changed.
We get report, but nothing being done.
Not that I don't respect Black Lake and what's happening to it. But put taxpayer money in there all the time.
So,
Not 11,000. I'm okay with 2,500. I think that's what.
I think they asked and they asked for 11, that's why. I said,
Yeah, we're requesting $11,000.
well, so our response is,
I think that's what we've done in the past, that
yes,
I wanna say 2,500.
looking to the numbers board here, it's not, you're not listening to me.
I would second the motion to make it 2,500.
Because he's got better memory of numbers than I do.
so the motion is made, the motion's been made and been seconded. That the 2,500 be check be written to the Black Lake Association for their continued studies on.
So appropriate.
So roll call.
You guys hear something?
This comment for you now?
I'm sorry, okay, Sean,
Aye.
Dave, Chris, Frank.
The next item is the Charter Communications franchise.
I kind of like where Rick was going, that's definitely not 15
And I made him know, so that you like me. Okay, then I said, we will not sign it, I will respond.
Well, in order to get it into the minutes, I move that, we ask Frank to, seek a 5-year. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to.
Wait, you need to finish.
Oh,
Yes, the motion.
Yes.
Okay.
just for 3 hours.
Okay, so Dave. Sean,
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Frank.
Yes. Item number 4 is the New York State Government Code 1203 unsafe structure.
That's just a formality, right? There's nothing we can. Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Sorry.
Roll call, please.
Yeah.
Sean,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Dave, Frank,
Aye, the motion carries. Item number 5, open burning within the hamlet of Youngstown. We went down and had a conversation with our attorney today. Would you take it from there because you're much more.
So basically, he said
Not
that we
great.
shouldn't do anything. That we shouldn't make a local law, and that has no effect, there's no enforcement, and everything gets referred to DEC anyway, so. That was
And
it.
I think there was some concern by you, whether did it leave us open to more liability if we didn't have a law? Didn't you ask that question?
No, just because we had, somebody has asked it, but we had a village law.
Yeah, you did.
That,
But anyways, we asked him and it does not open us up to any added liability that we want of the law in the books. Yeah. All right, with that, we'll
It
move
doesn't
on.
open us up, but it protects the person living next door if it doesn't, you know, houses are so
The
close.
person next door, he said the one that causes it is the one that's loud. That caused the fire. Okay, okay, well, that was his answer.
It should still be local. You have name law or village law, that state you can't burn the village.
You can honest, people, honest.
was that your own law or was it the New York state law? Because it is a New York state law that says village and cities, but there's no mention of
Right.
it. So,
Missed the hammer. Now, this was so painful now. So. Are you going to do something and who is going to enforce it?
Always had us at the last meeting. If you don't have a law to enforce, if he calls the cops on me for open burning in the hamlet, and there's no law, there's nothing to do about it. If there's a law, then they can say you can't burn. Correct? Makes sense?
yeah.
We had that discussion at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
it's just the enforcement.
Right, we're not gonna be enforcing it, but if somebody calls 911, says they're, you know, the smoke's bothering me. They come and say there's nothing we can do about it.
So it's kind of like the parking law too, like, nobody will come enforce that because it's a local law.
Right.
It's not a state law.
Right.
So that's why we have trouble enforcing our parking ban law in the winter time to get sick, the sheriff or whoever to come in
Yeah.
and do it, that is a issue on that.
It's one of those laws that if something happens, at least it's covered.
Right. Yep. I'm gonna make the motion, we put in a law that. We can only have a fire tech, you know, what is the normal size, 3 foot diameter?
Can we get a copy of those state village laws somehow before we,
Yeah,
It's
that'd
right
be,
on.
before we make our
it's
own?
right online.
yeah, get us to the next meeting.
Can we get that for the next meeting? So we can look.
I just think it protects the people who are so close, say if
Right.
Chris cuts that tree up and burns a big brush pile right next to that house, you know. Right, Chris?
And Chris, it's so.
I'm the town whipping boy right now anyway, so, you know.
Okay, with that for next one.
You wanna scratch your motion?
Tabling it.
Well, table it.
Let's get something we can look at, instead of just trying to, you. Write a whole paragraph.
Well, I was tasked with asking last month, with asking our town attorney, so I gave you his opinion. And now you're, okay, that we put into perspective. Water project update.
Martin, will you do
Sewer. Maybe we'll have it again. Maybe we'll have that.
Right, we have an email from Andy Silver saying, recommending that the town hire fiscal advisors to advance the.
Yes, okay, and we contacted. Cause we brought that up today with him. And he said that it wasn't something that needed to come before the board.
Right.
To decide between the two, suggested that they've had a lot of experience with the one, and he contacted them and at the next board meeting, no, we're gonna have to have a special meeting. where we're going to.
An agreement will be formed and then it'll have to be approved.
George, do you know whether this information's moving forward with the project details? So this whole concept.
So this is what Taylor sent back to, or Andy sent this to Taylor. So as of this morning, Kelly had been contacted, but there wasn't time enough for an agreement to be.
So they're going to forward us a proposed agreement,
Yeah.
which we will have to have a special meeting for. To review it,
And then after that would be the,
and then we let Barb will do the snow.
Yeah.
Takes care of it.
and then once that's all taken care of, then they'll determine on how much to borrow from the police.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we need to, with that said, we need to set up a meeting for this. And so we should, I would think a week will be plenty. Would you not? We should have I suspect we should have a.
I would think
Yeah.
she should be by the end of the week. How long was her assistant out though?
Just 2 days, like,
Okay.
stay with now.
So what are you suggesting? I'm looking for my. Or my calendar. Tuesday's always such a popular, good time for us. Should we do it the 17th?
Don't you have your community meeting for your committee meeting for forward?
I won't be there. We don't participate with the committee. And between. So. No, so we can meet.
5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, but that said, they'll be meeting here, so we will meet down there,
6 o'clock.
6 P.M. Okay, and the next item is the secret for Black Lake. Sewer study, resolution number 9. It should be in the packet. Which is, if you recall, this is only to advance the funding, it's not to move a project forward. So I will make a motion to approve resolution number 9. Awesome. Roll call, please.
Okay, Chris,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Sean, Frank,
Aye, the motion carries. We will execute the resolution. Okay, we've taken care of item number 8. So we move on to new business. Budget modifications. It'll be in your packet.
This is in Carol's handwriting. I respect Carol's recommendations, since she's discussed it with the state controller's office. And so it seems to me like a routine thing. Am I jumping the gun if I make a motion to approve the budget bonds?
Not to me or not. I'll second it. So the motion from there made and seconded to the for the budget mods.
Sean,
Tonight's meeting.
Aye.
sorry. Dave,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye. The next item is Bayside Park. Is that something you're handling?
Well, I know Jill had said she's gotten some phone calls about revitalizing the showers, we haven't used them since the bathhouse was broke up in town. So I don't know if the town board wanted to put some money towards those to get the showers back going in there.
What do you, that was a block, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Can we get that?
I think so, yeah, so they had like these stand, I forget what the proper name was, but basically it's all.
The band was roast out.
Yeah, so I think we can do them, replace everything. Quick price was like they were $900 a piece for all the stand pipe and the valves and.
Let me see what I can do with my girls in Syracuse, see if we can get something.
Okay,
You got girls everywhere, don't you? No, these girls are pretty good when it comes to this stuff.
I wanna be his girl.
You're on the list too.
so yeah, it was just a question I told Jill to throw on there, cause I mean, she's had quite a few phone calls this year, but they
You
haven't.
just want some being improved.
Right,
I think, yeah, I stopped it, years ago.
yeah, probably when it was put together.
And
I'll come down and help you.
and just to update you regarding the bathrooms, because of all the rainy weather, it's held off, next project for putting a new roof on, but I wanted to let you know.
Is there 2 showers?
Yes.
I also asked him to look in and give us a quote of something to be more childproof for railings out front, they keep kicking out the. There was.
Yeah, they're pretty well rotted, I mean, they're all metal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see something metal, like the handle links going up the range.
She's looking at, something and going to give me a price on it. Okay, okay, we are ready to move into department reports, and if none of the board members have anything new business to bring forward. Town clerk.
I'm just trying to keep up with everything.
Doing a good job.
Tax collection is over. Yesterday was the last day to key anything in.
I told her I was gonna enter on America's Got Talent because she's a juggler. So she could probably juggle there. Well, thank you. Highway Department,
I have a couple things, so the new truck that was supposed to be delivered 3 months ago, I told you they left the box up when they drove it to the paint booth. So now we are waiting, they were gonna try and repair the box, after they started repairs, it was too far, so we're waiting on a new box. For the truck, the truck was inspected, was sent back to Albany. Nothing structural in the truck, cab, frame, nothing was hurt, so we're just waiting on the box for that truck to be delivered. Paving was supposed to be done before the 4th of July because of the weather, they're behind 2 weeks, so it'll be after the 4th of July to our roads. With the extra chip money we did get, we will be able to do the center road and the old Mills Road. So that'll put us up just a little over 4 miles of road this year.
Very good.
Will be a good thing. Everything else going good, we did some sidewalks on Main Street, we kind of pushed the banks back a little bit, tried to make a little more parking, it seems to be helping. The guys did a great job, I was gone to school when they poured them. We've been chasing a water leak, we believe we have it pinpointed down to the condos. We found that late this afternoon, we can hear it, we haven't visually seen it yet, we're gonna start doing some digging tomorrow. So that's 45 to 50,000 gallons a day we're losing on that leak. And it's not, the ground is dry as can be, even with the rain we got, it's hard to believe, but it's all filled. I can tell you, I mean, it's all gravel. Yeah, so I mean, it's just a huge.
just going right up the river.
And with the sheet piling, you can't see anything on the face of the river, so we're gonna investigate there tomorrow. Hopefully cure that, that's all the only thing I do have is good old generator again. So it's back, it's still in Syracuse, since it's back, the problem is still here, so last time I spoke to you, we were. Let me go through, so. We were putting a new fuel pump on it, basically, that was back. I believe the first part of the people, I have the email. So anyways, the last email on Monday I got, cause I've been on him, cause he has our trailer down, they cannot offload it. So then they said on Friday, he said it was the governor control board, we believe is bad, well, they tested that on Monday. And that was not it. Currently, I think your generator is best used as an anchor, claims to power generation. This is right from the company, email. I don't know, I've been trying to find a higher up number and somebody to talk to on this, but once again, like, he says the generator is really throwing us all off. We've been brainstorming, on ways to get it off the trailer, 'cause that's what I've been really on it about.
Did,
They've been talking to their engineers, they said, once we have an answer, we'll let you know. Well, it's been since, so we took it, the first time we took it down there was March 31st, the problem has been since January 5th or 6th. So I don't know.
I think we just need to. I don't know,
I don't know what to do.
What did you say the one was, 30?
That particular one there was like 32, depending, well, if we stay with the same model, obviously the switchboard will work. I talked to Patterson, he was gonna give me some prices on a Kohler. They leave the switch
Did the
panel.
company offer any adjustments on the cost of replacing?
So that's why I did shoot, David Brooks, which is a service manager down there, I did shoot it back to him, so what if we. If you eat our costs off of a new one, basically we're gonna have about 12,000 on bills right now on it. You know, take that off the new one.
Mhm.
You know, see if they would come good on something, hadn't heard an answer back from higher up.
I think that sounds like a good negotiating
Oh.
approach and.
I just,
Even if we get half of
What
it.
account, what account does
Yeah,
this
it'd be
belong?
nice if we could just get.
well,
this
it'd be sewer count, would be sewer 2 and. Sewer 2 and 3.
Too bad it isn't water, cause I got an email that we're figuring a class action suit where we're gonna get 26 or 27,000
Oh.
back.
So I don't know what to do with this generator, unfortunately, nobody else will really touch it because it's computerized, right? So you have to have the right computer to hook to it. If I talk to Cat, to see if I can run it over there, I mean, they're literally a stone throw away from Syracuse to take it over to their shop, and they pretty much said, no. And Kohler, I talked to Kinsley, actually I had Kinsley up here when there was a problem originally, because that's who we deal with the Kohlers, and they won't touch it either, so they just don't have the computer to.
What kind is it on?
Owen.
I think we need to give Dean some direction to this.
So I mean, we do owe them some money right now, I've been holding it off, I told Kristen I'd wait, I feel we need to pay the bill that we have. Because they did come up and work on it. I don't know about the injector pump, because that didn't fix the problem, and they pretty much said that was gonna fix the problem, so that's 6,000 there, but. There is like a $3,000 bill that they need to pay, but.
I'd say pay that one, negotiate with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me when to put the old one on.
Or a bad,
Well, that's pretty much what I said, I
I'm in a bad position,
mean,
cause I'm sure Dave wants to generate.
well, he said he got about a month left. And then they're needing that generator, so.
So.
So you want me to come back next month with some confirmed pricing on a new one, and then we'll just,
Let's check Kohler out too.
yeah. So that's what our other ones are, and Kinsley's really
Uh-huh.
been great on service on those. I mean, that's what the fire department has.
Yeah.
You guys are. Ricky's rating Adams, or Antwerp, service for that.
All right, I think you got a directive on that.
Okay,
Thank you, Dean.
yep, I'm good.
I don't see anything in here from Deb on communications. You have a report from your assessor. Your review. Thomas Storing. You get nothing from.
I've seen something.
Yes. Okay. Dog control, do you have anything new yet?
Fix for the heating, air conditioning,
Yeah, from Egg and Market.
yeah, we fix that. The next week, but.
And. Code enforcement.
Well, you saw there was only a few permits, for this month or for May. There's more, it's just that I'm hand typing them all, so I got behind on getting them all in for that. There's been little movement on the stone house next to the church, Brooks has a full report. He's getting cost estimates together right now. So that might go somewhere, if not, then we'll look at that one. I've sent out 3 letters down Main Street to try to get people to clean up before, ahead of the 4th of July, things. And minimally with the stone house, we would like to put barricades around it, so people aren't standing right in front of it, but it's really deteriorating fast. So that's our main goal, is just to get that safe for the 4th of July, so.
The brick house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the, other than that, it's just kind of going a million different directions right now.
I'd suggest if on your typing, you wanted it I wouldn't personally be opposed for her utilizing, I was gonna say Patty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just a matter of getting them in, that new program still isn't implemented yet, so it's.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pain. Yeah, we're a year. Contracted with them, I have nothing from,
Right, we're not gonna do a new contract. but-
well, they're in the process, but I reached out to them and we're just not gonna pay this year, so.
Thank you. Someone's patiently been waiting there in the wings, so. And
I'm fine. I'm behind
I
Rob.
thought you fell asleep.
No.
I was quiet in here after a while.
Every time I come to a board meeting, I say you miss all the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, we're going for 2 more, okay? So we have the local waterfront revitalization plan update. It's due on July 1st. We tried it last year. We didn't get it. We're trying it again. This is Rob Campney, by the way, and he's from Fourth Coast and St. Lawrence Engineering. And I think he might have some things to say too, but, I'll start. Hey, you correct me when I screw up.
We'll do just fine.
Anyway, he's done it. He's done all of these things in Clayton, in Waddington, and that's why we need his expertise. So we're gonna do LWRP, and that, as I started to say, is due on July 31st. It's just requesting an update of the 1991 plan that was done joint. You probably remember that, Sherry. It was for the joint plan, and so we're just asking it to be updated. And it seems to be a linchpin, or one of the linchpins, for all of these other grants that we hope to apply for. So LWRP is coming up on July 31st, and we are expecting an opening for New York Forward. It's in the governor's budget, and we're gonna try it again. You remember last time we went through, we had all the public meetings, and we had 8 different projects. We've had a preliminary meeting with some of the principal people, and tonight I'm asking you to appoint a local planning committee. The local plan, I think, is that in the packet, Joe? Okay, there's a group of people, there are 12 people, I think, that have agreed to serve. We have scheduled 3 meetings that are all, I have a corrected date, I have.
Oh, okay.
There is a correction on the printout. The last name would be Andrea Smith, and not Eileen Gerard. Did you do one of those? Here, just a minute.
You're on.
You're good.
Yeah, I know.
We're good.
Okay, like, I did some correction. No, okay, what do you want?
Yeah.
This is the correct one.
Okay.
Okay,
What is that?
not much typing. There we go. I get 20 of those. Anyway, the local planning committee, if you appoint them tonight. If you appoint them tonight, will serve both for the LWRP and for the New York Forward Grant. Okay, so we're asking for that to be in place as you move forward. At Rob's suggestion, we have contacted a fellow named Sam Gordon from Environmental Research and Environmental Design and Research, something like that, EDR, in Syracuse, and they have agreed to give us a free estimate for how much it will cost to update the LWRP. I mean, who did you have to do it last time?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know them. Anyway, so that's what you're doing. The New York Forward application, as I started to say, hasn't come out yet, but we're expecting it to be the last week in June. There's been preliminary discussion about the pedestrian bridge.
And there seems to be a general consensus amongst the principals that that's probably not gonna fly. And so, but all of the decision making and the recommendations will come from the local planning committee. Public input is required. We're gonna have to take attendance at all of these meetings and so on and so forth. Rob has suggested at the meeting when we had to discuss preliminaries that our comprehensive plan needs to be approved by the county. And I didn't know that. Actually, Jason wasn't really sure. You know, we went through that process. We had all those public meetings. We updated the plan. You approved the updated plan. But we didn't send it to the county. And so we called Heidi Ames. You remember Heidi? She came and she helped us with all of that. We called Heidi. Heidi Chase said Jason told her that it's not required, but that we will be better off if we submit it to the county. Yeah. And so Lisa has volunteered to do the submission for us. So Deb Pinger right now is in the process of doing the updates, and she's doing it in red. You know, all the changes will appear in red. And once she does that, we'll share that with you. Then Lisa, I don't know what you do when you get it, but you do it. Okay.
1/4 consent.
Okay, and then Sherry, you get, right? So we're hoping that that will all happen. Heidi said it has to be done within 30 days when they get it. With the county planning board has to happen.
And we have our meeting Thursday, so it'll be in two.
Right. So we just need, yeah, we need it for July 3rd.
Yeah.
Questions?
Will it have to go to Annie Silver?
We already had that conversation, didn't
Anything else?
we? So the board needs to approve.
Appoint the planning
this-
committee.
Can you tell us who's on that list?
Sure, there actually is. Here's a copy.
There is one correction on it. It's Ryan Demick.
Ryan Derrick.
What it is?
I
Ryan
didn't know if
Demick.
you would know.
What did I say, Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
If I didn't make some. Thank you. And all of those meetings will be public. There's nothing, they will not meet as a private group. All of the meetings will be public. And the meetings are scheduled for June 17th, July 15th, and August 19th at 6:30 right here. And we have a poster and an invitation coming that Deb Pinger, if you appoint this group, that'll go up tomorrow.
I make a motion to appoint this group.
I second.
Okay.
Except for you, Dean. So the motion's been made, second.
Sean,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye. So the motion carries, the group is accepted by the board. Okay with that? That's the update you have for us. Yes. Okay, no. Now. The next. Give me the word. Give me the.
on your.
Strategic plan.
Mhm.
Oh. I make a motion, we go into executive session for strategic planning purposes. So we're giving you.
Nate, where'd you get all these chairs?
Oh, I got this nose on.
You don't need to find. The tough situation.
Yeah, nothing else has to come here.
It's about music. There's nobody who's.
Gotta do it.
Apologize if I jumped your.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna work on. Okay. So, all right. And want me to say.
No, no, the usual already.
Oh, yeah, you can.
I do wanna be.
I'm too busy with air conditioning right now.